chicken. So I've never been to Portland before, and I also visited Powell's, which was the most amazing independent bookstore I've ever been to. We did in the Gold Room, which is the science fiction horror fantasy room, which was unbelievable. And I was looking through all the really old books to see which ones were first edition. So luckily I had to go somewhere and I had to sign stock for them, so my husband dragged me out.
That's probably good.
We've left a lot of independent bookstores with huge boxes being shipped to my house and a lot less money than I started with.
So you must have like a TBR pile from like...
My TBR pile is starting to look like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It's very scary, and I finally gave in and like moved to e-reader so that I read traditional books and ebooks, because I usually have so much in my TBR pile when I'm going on tour that my luggage is too heavy. So I put all those on my reader, and then when I fall in love with them, I have to go back and buy the hardcovers so I can put them in my library. I'm a huge book hoarder, would be the only way to describe it. I make fun of my husband for hoarding other things, but I hoard weird objects and books. I've never been to the World Horror Convention, so for me, it's kind of really fun to be hanging around my people. And I taught for 17 years before I became a writer. So there's a lot of authors, and nominated and who are not nominated, but who are here, whose books I've taught to high school students. So it's pretty fantastic it's kind of fangirlish to be able to come and hang out with some of my friends that are here, but also to actually be part of it. I've been part of the young adult world for a while now, but I am at heart a genre writer and a genre reader. So this is really fun for me. And the Stokers, I can't really talk about that. I'm trying to be very calm about it and not get too excited, because it's a huge, huge honor. I do Comic-Con every year. I've been doing San Diego Comic-Con. My husband makes video games, console games. So I have been going to San Diego Comic-Con before I was ever a writer. And then in 2009, right before Beautiful Creatures came out, my first novel that I wrote with my writing partner, we went to Comic-Con. So I have been to New York Comic-Con twice now, and I've been to San Diego Comic-Con basically every year since 2008. And I've done Romantic Times Convention. I've done a lot of book festivals, more so than cons, but I like to shop the con, and I like to fangirl at the con, because generally that means I'm going to find science fiction and fantasy writers and horror writers. The first time we met Holly Black, we followed her around Comic-Con for a little while until finally she said, "Do I know you?" And I said, "No, but we want to know you." I've been to WonderCon, so
okay. Yeah,
all of those. My friend Rachel Kane is always trying to get me to come to Dragon Con, because she said that one's really fun too. I think definitely. I joined HWA and Science Fiction Writers almost immediately, and I get a lot out of it. I feel like you have a community. You have people who are willing to nurture you. Rocky Wood has been fantastic to me. I'm such good friends with Nancy Holder, and she said join HWA and you'll meet all these horror writers and you'll learn the ropes. And you can go to pitches here and you can pitch to people. And I just saw an agent I know here. So I think there's a lot of opportunities, but I think that more so is a network of support. It's kind of about finding your tribe. And I feel like if you're a romance writer, you're going to join RWA. If you're a horror writer, you're going to join HWA. But for me, I cross a lot of genres. So I just felt like I was going to join as many as would take me. And the conventions are really fun because you get to meet writers that you admire. You get to meet other young or new writers who are probably doing the same thing you are. And at these pitch sessions, you get to meet agents or editors, which is fantastic. I love going to panels, even years. I think I've written 7 or 8 books now and like several short stories. But I always get something out of going to a panel with writers that I admire. I always take something away from it that I didn't have when I walked in the door. This is Unbreakable, my book that was nominated, and I'm very proud of it. I was very surprised to be nominated and very honored. I I mean, it's very overwhelming to me. It's like the Oscars of writing awards, because horror is something that I love, and especially horror that is based in suspense. You know, that the Stephen King kind of book, and to be in a category. You know, I'm not nominated the same category as he is, but I am nominated the same year he is. So I feel like it's such a big deal to me, and I'm really superstitious. So I try not to make it a big deal, because I feel like then I will jinx myself. But my agent was like, "You are really excited about this. Like, you are way more excited about this than like some of the lists you've made and other awards that you've gotten." And I said, it's like everyone has a thing as a writer that to them makes them feel kind of like they've made it. Like the first time I saw my book in a store on the shelf, that was like a moment where I'm like, I am now a real writer. And the first time I got invited to be on a panel, you know, things like that, where all of a sudden I was like, this is real, this is my career, and, you know, people think I'm a writer. And this was an award that was really important to me, because I felt like horror and science fiction and fantasy is what I grew up reading and something I've always aspired to. So it made me feel, especially since you're nominated and your peers are the ones voting for you. It's not about selling books or, you know, who has a fancier budget or who's traditionally published or who's self-published. It's about the people that you respect reading your book and getting something out of it. And so that was really important to me. And Unbreakable is a fun book. It's dark. I never really thought it was that dark, but everyone else says it's pretty dark. It's got a lot of haunted places in it. It's about a girl named Kennedy Waters who lives in Washington, D.C., and her mother dies, and she basically finds out that her mother hails from a secret society that is charged with protecting the world from a very dangerous demon that dates back to like the time of the Illuminati centuries before. And all 5 adult members of this legion were killed on the same night in the exact same way, and now the legion is in the hands basically of 5 teenagers. 4 of them are trained and have spent their entire lives preparing for this. And she not only did not prepare, she doesn't know anything about it. She's like a regular girl listening to Velvet Revolver, you know, who doesn't really believe in ghosts. And all of a sudden she has to learn about vengeance spirits and demonology. And I researched a lot of really famous haunted places like West Virginia State Penitentiary and Lilburn Mansion in Ellicott City. And they have to go into a lot of these places because ultimately they're looking for a weapon they believe can destroy this demon. And, you know, what fun would it be if the weapon wasn't in a whole bunch of pieces that you had to assemble? So I basically, I wrote Beautiful Creatures with my co-author Margaret Stoll. That's the first book I ever wrote. And then after that, I was going to write something solo. We both did, and she said, "What are you going to write about?" And I was like, "I don't really know." And so, you know, I went through it with a whole bunch of my friends, and we played a lot of questions. Finally, like, "What are you interested in?" And I was like, "Well, I like demons and ghost hunting, and secret societies and serial killers and voodoo and superstition and you know, Soundgarden. That's about it." And they were like, "That's what the book is about." And all 7 of those things made it into the book. Even one small, he doesn't have a big role, but even a serial killer. So it sounds crazy, but it actually worked. It's really an ensemble book, and at the end of the day, even though there's a lot of ghost hunting and kind of creepy things in it, it's really about, you know, like, how far would you go for the people you care about? You know, will you bring it to the mat when it's time to do that? So this is how excited I personally am about being nominated, and my publisher. Unmarked, my advanced reader was a little bit late, but they still waited so that they could put on the back. It says, "Unmarked, the sequel to the 2013 Bram Stoker Award nominee Unbreakable." So I was just saying, now I can tell everyone, whether you win or not, I can tell everyone that I'm a nominee forever. They can put it on my tombstone.